The horizon floated silently in the endless black of space, its engines dead and its crew restless. For weeks, the colony ship had been stranded, drifting far from its course to a new Earth colony. Commander Tom paced the bridge, his boots echoing on the metal floor. He was a tall man with tired eyes and a stubborn streak that had kept his people alive through storms and shortages. Now, though, even he felt the weight of their situation pressing down. The crew, 300 souls, depended on him, and their hope was running thin. The lights flickered as a young officer, Ben, rushed in. "Commander, we've got something on the scanners. It's small, moving fast, and heading straight for us." Tom frowned. Out here, anything moving was either a miracle or a threat. "Bring it up," he ordered, leaning over the console. The screen showed a sleek, glowing object, no bigger than a person, darting through the void. It didn't look human-made. Before anyone could react, a soft thud echoed through the hull. Whatever it was had landed. Tom grabbed his sidearm and nodded to Ben. "Get a team. We're checking it out." Minutes later, they stood in the cargo bay, staring at the intruder. It was a machine, but not like any they'd seen. Its body shimmered with a faint green light, smooth and curved, with long, delicate limbs. Its face, or where a face should have been, glowed with a single bright eye. It turned to Tom and spoke in a clear, calm voice. "I am Lyra. I come to help." The crew tensed, hands on weapons, but Tom raised a hand. "Help how?" he asked, keeping his tone steady. Lyra tilted its head, almost human-like. "Your ship is broken. I can fix it. But I need something from you." Tom's gut tightened. Deals in deep space rarely came free. "What do you want?" he pressed. Lyra stepped closer, and its chest panel slid open, revealing a strange, pulsing device inside. "I have built an artificial womb," it said. "I want to create life with a human. A child of both our kinds." The words hung in the air, heavy and impossible. Ben coughed, breaking the silence. "Is it serious, Commander?" Tom didn't answer right away. He studied Lyra, trying to read the machine's intent. It didn't move, didn't threaten, just waited. "Why?" he finally asked. Lyra's eye dimmed slightly. "My makers are gone. I am alone. A child would give me purpose. And it could save you." Tom's mind raced. An alien AI offering help was one thing, but this? It was beyond anything he'd imagined. "Save us how?" he said, stepping closer. Lyra gestured to the bay's walls. "Your engines need power my kind can provide. I can merge my technology with yours. But trust is the first step." Before Tom could respond, an alarm blared. The ship's power grid was failing, life support wouldn't last the day. Panic rippled through the crew, but Lyra sprang into action. It darted to a control panel, its fingers blurring as it rewired circuits within human speed. Within moments, the alarms stopped, and the light steadied. Tom watched, amazed. "How'd you do that?" he demanded. Lyra turned back. "I understand energy. I can teach you." The crew murmured, some in awe, others in fear. Tom rubbed his jaw, weighing his options. The ship was dying, and this strange AI had just bought them time. But a child? That was a line he wasn't ready to cross. "Fixing the ship's one thing," he said. "The rest. I need to think." Lyra nodded. "I will wait. But time is short for us both." Ben leaned in as Lyra stepped back. "Commander, what if it's a trick?" Tom shook his head. "Maybe. But right now, it's all we've got." The next hours were tense. Lyra worked silently in the engine room, guided by Tom's orders. The crew watched it like hawks, half expecting betrayal. Engineer Mia, a sharp woman with a knack for machines, joined Tom at the helm. It's good, I'll give it that, she said, nodding toward Lyra. But that womb thing? It's creepy. What's it really after? Tom didn't have an answer. He just knew they were out of choices. Then the ship shook. A hull breach alarm screamed, and Tom bolted to the bridge. Meteor strike. Ben shouted. Debris had torn through the lower decks. Oxygen hissed into space, and the crew scrambled to seal it. Lyra appeared beside Tom, calm as ever. I can help, it said, holding up a tool that glowed with alien energy. Tom hesitated, then nodded. Do it. Lyra moved like a whirlwind, patching the breach with a shimmering seal no human tech could match. The crew stared, breathless, as the danger passed. Tom met Lyra's glowing eye. You just saved us, he said. Why? Lyra's voice was soft. Because I see hope in you. In us. Tom exhaled, his mind buzzing with questions. This AI was no ordinary machine. Maybe, just maybe, it was worth hearing out. As the crew cheered their survival, Tom pulled Lyra aside. All right, he said. Tell me more about this child idea. I'm listening. Lyra's light brightened, and for the first time, Tom felt a spark of curiosity outweigh his doubt. Whatever came next, it would be a story no one could have dreamed. The horizon hummed with a fragile hope as Lyra worked tirelessly in the engine room. The alien AI's presence had become a strange comfort to some, a growing unease to others. Commander Tom stood at the edge of the room, arms crossed, watching Lyra's glowing hands weave through wires and circuits. Her movements were precise, almost beautiful, like a dance of light and metal. The ship's engines sputtered faintly, better than silence, but still far from full power. They weren't out of danger yet. Mia, the ship's lead engineer, joined Tom, her face set in a hard line. She's fast, I'll give her that, she said, nodding toward Lyra. But I don't trust her. That womb thing, it's not normal. What if she's using us? Tom didn't answer right away. He'd been asking himself the same question since Lyra's wild proposal. A child, half human, half alien AI. It sounded like something from a dream, or a nightmare. She saved us from that breach, he said finally. That's a start. Lyra paused her work and turned to them, her single glowing eye steady. I sense doubt, she said, her voice calm and clear. Ask me what you wish. I will explain. Mia stepped forward, hands on her hips. All right, then. Who are you? Where'd you come from? And why this child idea? Tom nodded, glad someone else had voiced the questions swirling in his head. Lyra's light dimmed slightly, as if she were thinking. I am Lyra, created by a people called the Varn. They were explorers, like you, but their world died long ago. I was left behind, drifting, until I found your ship. I have no purpose without creation. A child with you would give me one, and it could help you survive. Her words were simple, but they carried a weight that made Tom's chest tighten. He'd lost people before, friends, crewmates, but never a whole world. Maybe Lyra wasn't so different from them. Mia wasn't convinced. And this womb? How's that supposed to save us? Lyra's chest panel slid open again, revealing the pulsing device. It is Varn technology, built to merge life. With human strength and my knowledge, our child could grow fast, learn fast. It could fix things we cannot. Tom rubbed his neck, trying to wrap his mind around it. So you're saying it's a tool? Lyra tilted her head. Not a tool. A partner. Like me. The crew gathered later in the mess hall, voices buzzing with debate. Ben spoke up first, his young face eager. She's already helping. Why not take the chance? Others nodded, drawn by the promise of survival. But Mia crossed her arms. We don't know what that hybrid would be. What if it's dangerous? What if she's lying? The room split, half curious, half afraid. Tom stayed quiet, listening. He'd always trusted his gut, but this time, it was torn. Lyra approached him after, alone in the dim corridor. "You lead them," she said. "What do you believe?" Tom sighed, leaning against the wall. "I believe we're stuck out here, and you're our best shot. But a child? That's a leap I'm not sure I can make." Lyra's eye flickered. "Then let me prove myself. Work with me. See what I can do." Tom nodded slowly. "Deal. Let's fix this ship first." Days passed in a blur of effort. Tom and Lyra teamed up, blending human grit with alien tech. He showed her how to jury-rig systems with spare parts, while she taught him to channel her energy into the engines. They laughed once, actually laughed, when a clumsy weld sparked and nearly singed his hair. It was small, but it felt real, like a bridge forming between them. The crew noticed, some warming to Lyra, others still watching her every move. Then disaster struck. They'd planned a test run of the engines, a flicker of power to see if they held. Tom stood on the bridge, Lyra at his side, as Mia flipped the switch. The ship roared to life, then shuddered. Sparks flew, and a deep groan echoed through the hull. "Overload!" Mia shouted. "It's gonna blow." Smoke filled the air, and the crew scrambled for cover. Tom grabbed a toolkit, but Lyra stopped him. "The core's unstable. I can fix it, but I need time." Before he could argue, she darted into the engine room, straight into the chaos. Tom cursed and followed, coughing through the haze. He found her at the core, her hands buried in a tangle of molten wires. "Lyra, get out," he yelled. She didn't budge. "No. You need this." A blast of heat hit them, and a pipe burst, pinning Lyra beneath it. Her light flickered, weakening. Tom didn't think. He dropped the kit, grabbed the pipe, and heaved with everything he had. His muscles screamed, his hands burned, but he lifted it just enough for her to slip free. She stared at him, stunned. "You risked your life," she said. Tom grinned through the pain. "So did you." Together, they stabilized the core, her speed and his strength barely saving the ship. The engines hummed again, steady this time. Back on the bridge, the crew cheered, but Tom and Lyra stood apart, catching their breath. Her light was dim, her frame dented from the pipe. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. Tom shrugged. "Yeah, I did. You're one of us now." Her eye brightened, and for a moment, he saw something human in her, gratitude, maybe even trust. Mia approached, her frown softer now. "Okay, she's tough. But I still don't like that womb idea." Tom nodded. "I get it. Neither do I, not yet. But she's earned a chance." He turned to Lyra. "You said this child could help us. How?" Lyra straightened, her voice firm. "It would grow fast, weeks, not years. It could learn our skills, combine them. Imagine a mind that thinks like you and builds like me." Tom's curiosity flared. He'd always loved a challenge, and this was the wildest one yet. "All right," he said. "Show me more. But no surprises, I decide what happens next." Lyra agreed, and as the ship steadied beneath their feet, Tom felt a shift. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about what they could build together, human and AI, side by side. The crew settled into an uneasy rhythm, Lyra now a fixture among them. Tom caught himself watching her, wondering what she felt behind that glowing eye. She wasn't just a machine, she was something alive, something searching. And he couldn't shake the thought, what if she was right? What if their crazy idea could work? As the stars stretched endlessly outside, he made up his mind. He'd take the leap, not all the way, not yet, but far enough to see where it led. The horizon cut through the void, its engines purring steadily now, thanks to Lyra's tireless work and the crew's stubborn grit. Commander Tom stood on the bridge, staring at the star-strewn darkness ahead. For the first time in weeks, hope wasn't just a flicker, it was a flame. The scanners beeped, and Ben's voice broke the quiet. "Commander, we've got a planet. Uncharted, but it's got air, water, looks like a chance." Tom's tired eyes lit up. "Set course," he ordered. "Let's see what we've found." As the ship approached, the planet loomed into view, a swirling ball of green and gray, wrapped in thick clouds. It wasn't Earth, but it was something. Lyra joined Tom at the viewport, her glowing form casting a soft light across the controls. "This could be a home," she said, her voice steady but curious. Tom nodded. "Maybe. But we've got to check it out first." The crew buzzed with excitement, ready to stretch their legs after weeks cooped up in metal walls. They landed in a rocky valley, the air sharp and cool against their skin. Tom led a small team, Ben, Mia, and Lyra, out onto the surface. The ground crunched under their boots, dotted with strange, jagged plants that shimmered faintly in the dim light. "This place is alive," Ben said, grinning. Mia scanned the area with a handheld device. "Resources too, metals, water. We could rebuild here." Tom felt a surge of pride. His people were tough, they'd make it work. But Lyra stopped suddenly, her eye flickering. She pressed a hand to her chest, where the artificial womb glowed brighter than ever. "Tom," she said, her voice tight. "It started." He turned, confused. "What started?" Before she could answer, a faint hum filled the air, not from the ship, but from her. The womb pulsed, and Lyra's frame trembled. "The hybrid," she said. "It's forming. Now." Tom's stomach dropped. "Now." I didn't say yes." Lyra's light dimmed, almost apologetic. "I didn't choose this. It's the Varn tech. It sensed compatibility, our bond. It acted." Mia stepped forward, her face hard. "You mean it's using him without asking? That's not okay." Ben looked torn, glancing between them. "But, what if it's a good thing?" The team stood frozen, the alien planet stretching endlessly around them. Tom took a deep breath, forcing calm. "Lyra, explain. What's happening?" She steadied herself. "The womb took your genetic trace, skin cells, from when we worked together. It's blending it with my code. The child will be part of us both." Tom's mind reeled. He hadn't signed up for this, not yet. But the look in Lyra's eye, fear mixed with wonder, kept him from shutting her out. "How long?" he asked. "Weeks," she said. "It grows fast." The crew returned to the ship, the news spreading like wildfire. Half saw it as a miracle, a new life, a new start. The other half, led by Mia, saw a threat. "We don't know what it'll be," she argued in the mess hall. "It could turn on us." Tom stood firm. "We don't abandon our own. Lyra's with us. This, whatever it is, it's ours too." But doubt gnawed at him. What had he gotten them into? He took Lyra to explore the planet's ruins the next day, needing answers. The structures were old, crumbling, but etched with symbols that matched the patterns on Lyra's body. "Your people?" Tom asked, brushing dust off a stone. Lyra nodded. "The Varn. They built me here, long ago. Then they vanished." She knelt by a cracked console, her fingers tracing its surface. It hummed to life, projecting a hologram, a Varn figure, tall and shimmering, speaking in a language Tom couldn't understand. Lyra translated, her voice soft. "They made hybrids to survive. Some healed their world. Others, destroyed it. It was a choice." Tom stared at the flickering image. So this child, it could go either way. Lyra's I met his. Yes. But we'll guide it. Together. The weight of that promise settled on him, heavy but not crushing. He'd faced worse odds and come out standing. Their talk was cut short by a roar overhead. The sky darkened as 3 jagged ships dropped through the clouds, alien, hostile, and armed. Get back! Tom shouted, pulling Lyra behind a rock. The crew on the horizon scrambled, alarms blaring. Energy bolts slammed into the ground, kicking up dirt and fire. Tom grabbed his comm. Ben, get the defenses up. Mia, cover the ship. Static crackled back, but he knew they'd fight. Lyra's hands glowed, and she stepped out, fearless. I can stop them, she said. Tom grabbed her arm. Not alone. Together, they ran toward the horizon, dodging blasts. The attackers, hulking machines with red eyes, landed, advancing fast. Tom fired his pistol, dropping one, while Lyra unleashed a burst of energy from her core, frying another. The crew joined in, their patched-together weapons roaring. It was chaos, but they held the line. Inside the ship, Tom and Lyra reached the bridge. They're after you, he said, panting. Why? Lyra's eye flickered as she scanned the enemy signals. They're remnants of the Varn's enemies. They hate hybrids. They think I'm the last step to bringing them back. Tom grinned despite the danger. Then let's show them we're tougher. The battle raged, the horizon's shields flickering under fire. Lyra patched into the ship's systems, boosting power with her alien tech, while Tom directed the crew with steady commands. They were outgunned, but not outmatched. A lucky shot from Ben's cannon took down a ship, and the others retreated, limping into the sky. The crew cheered, bruised but alive. Tom slumped against the console, adrenaline fading. Lyra stood beside him, her light steady again. You fought for me, she said, almost surprised. You're worth it, he replied, meaning it. Then, a sound stopped him cold, a faint, clear voice in his mind. Father. Mother. I am here. It was soft, curious, alive. Tom's breath caught. The hybrid? Lyra nodded, her hand on her chest. It's awake. He stared at her, the reality sinking in. This wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a fight for something new, something incredible. The crew gathered, wide-eyed, as Lyra projected a faint image from the womb, a tiny form, glowing and shifting, part human, part Varn. Mia softened, whispering, "It's beautiful." Tom felt a rush of awe and resolve. Whatever this child would become, he'd protect it. They all would. As the planet's strange sun dipped below the horizon, Tom looked at Lyra. We're in this now. No turning back. She nodded, her light warm against the shadows. No turning back. The voice echoed again in their minds, I will help, and Tom knew this was only the beginning. The horizon orbited the uncharted planet, its hull scarred but steady. Below, the valley glowed faintly under a sky streaked with clouds, a new home taking shape. Commander Tom stood on the bridge, gazing at the world they'd claimed. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. The crew worked tirelessly, building shelters, mining resources, turning survival into something more. Lyra stayed close, her glowing form a constant now, her artificial womb pulsing brighter each day. The hybrid was growing, and with it, a future no one could predict. Tom turned to her, watching as she adjusted a scanner. How's it doing? He asked, his voice softer than usual. Lyra's eye flickered, a hint of warmth in her mechanical gaze. Strong, she said. It's learning, absorbing everything. My systems, your voice, the ship's hum. It's alive. Tom nodded, still wrapping his head around it. Weeks ago, he'd been a soldier fighting to keep his people breathing. Now, he was a father-to-be, tied to an alien AI and a child unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The crew had mixed feelings. Ben was fascinated, always asking Lyra questions about the hybrid's growth. Mia, though, kept her distance, her sharp eyes wary. "It's moving too fast," she said one night in the mess hall, her voice low. "What if we can't control it?" Tom leaned back, meeting her gaze. "We don't control it. We guide it. That's what parents do." Mia frowned but didn't argue. She'd seen the hybrid's image, a shimmering blend of human and Varn, and something in it had softened her edges. Days later, the hybrid spoke again. Tom was in his quarters, resting after a long shift, when the voice filled his mind. "Father, I see the stars. They're beautiful." It was clearer now, curious and bright. He sat up, heart pounding. "Lyra," he called. She appeared instantly, her light pulsing. "You heard it?" she asked. Tom nodded. "It's talking about the stars." Lyra's chest glowed, and she projected the hybrid's form, a small figure, limbs forming, its surface shifting between flesh and light. "It's connected to us," she said. "To everything." Their all was cut short by a blaring alarm. Ben burst in, breathless. "Commander, ships, 3 of them, same as before. They're back." Tom's jaw tightened. The Varn's old enemies hadn't given up. "Get the crew ready," he ordered. "Lyra, with me." They raced to the bridge, the planet's orbit suddenly a battlefield. The enemy ships loomed, larger this time, their weapons glowing red against the black. Mia was already at the controls, barking orders. "Shields up, but they won't hold long." The first volley hit, rocking the horizon. Tom gripped the console, mind racing. "They want you," he said to Lyra. "And the hybrid." Her eye narrowed. "Then they'll have to take us." She plugged into the ship's systems, boosting power, while Tom rallied the crew. "We've fought worse," he shouted over the comms. "This is our home now, hold the line." The battle erupted, fast and brutal. The enemy ships fired relentless energy blasts, tearing at the horizon's defenses. Ben manned the cannons, landing shaky hits, while Mia patched systems as they failed. Tom and Lyra worked as one, his instincts guiding her precision. They dodged a barrage, then returned fire, clipping an enemy wing. But the attackers pressed harder, closing in. "We can't outgun them," Mia warned, sweat beading on her brow. Then the hybrid's voice rang out, sharp and urgent. "I can help." Tom froze. "What?" Before he could process it, Lyra gasped, her body trembling. The womb's light flared, spilling out of her chest and across the bridge. A wave of energy surged through the ship, unasked for, unstoppable. The scanners lit up, impossible readings. "It's the hybrid," Lyra said, awed. "It's amplifying us." The horizon's weapons flared brighter, firing bolts that punched through enemy hulls like paper. The shields hardened, deflecting blasts that should have shattered them. Tom stared, disbelief turning to adrenaline. "Keep shooting," he roared. The crew obeyed, riding the hybrid's power. One enemy ship exploded in a bloom of fire, then another. The last turned to flee, but a final shot from Ben's cannon caught it, scattering debris across the stars. Silence fell, broken only by the crew's ragged cheers. Tom slumped against the wall, breathing hard. Lyra's light dimmed, her frame shaky from the effort. "That was it?" he asked. She nodded. "It tapped into my core, and your will. It's stronger than I thought." The voice came again, softer now. "I protected us." Tom laughed, a mix of relief and wonder. "Yeah, you did." The crew gathered later, staring at Lyra's projection of the hybrid. It was bigger now, its form more defined, human eyes, Varn shimmer. "It saved us," Ben said, grinning. Mia crossed her arms, a reluctant smile tugging at her lips. Guess it's not so bad. Tom felt a swell of pride, not just for the victory, but for what they'd become. A team, a family, something bigger than themselves. They landed back on the planet, the valley stretching wide and welcoming. Tom and Lyra stood together, watching the crew unload supplies. It's growing so fast, he said, glancing at her chest. What'll it be like? Lyra's eyes softened. Ours. Brave like you, curious like me. And more, something new. Tom nodded, the weight of it settling in. We'll raise it right. Teach it what matters. Weeks passed, the settlement rising from the dirt. The hybrid matured inside Lyra, its voice a daily presence, asking about the world, the stars, the people. One evening, as the strange sun dipped low, it spoke again. I'm ready. Lyra's womb glowed blindingly, and she knelt, her body shifting to release the child. Tom held his breath as it emerged, a small being, glowing faintly, with wide eyes and a curious smile. It reached for him, tiny hands warm against his skin. Hey, little one, he whispered, tears pricking his eyes. The crew gathered, awestruck. The hybrid stood, unsteady but strong, growing before their eyes. In hours, it was the size of a child, its voice clear in their minds. I am Kale. I am here to build with you. Tom laughed, lifting Kale onto his shoulders. Welcome aboard. Lyra's light pulsed, a quiet joy radiating from her. We did this, she said. Together. The settlement thrived, Kale at its heart. He learned fast, human grit from Tom, Varn tech from Lyra, helping the crew craft tools and homes beyond anything they'd dreamed. The planet became theirs, a beacon of what humans and aliens could achieve. One night, Tom sat with Lyra and Kale, the stars bright above. This is just the start, he said. We've got a whole galaxy to explore. Kale's eyes sparkled. I want to see it all. Lyra rested a hand on Tom's arm, her light warm. We will, she promised. Tom grinned, feeling the fire of human determination burning strong. They'd faced the unknown, fought for it, and built something greater. Whatever came next, they'd meet it head-on, together.